No cussing, Julie. We're being recorded.
I see that. I'll behave.
It's me. You better watch out. Sorry?
Good.
I think so. Thank you so
You
much.
need me to call or text?
Just waiting for Michelle. She's 1 minute out.
Okay.
And Howard Trotter. Let me send him a reminder. Well, it's only 9:59 according to my watch.
Good morning.
Jay, how are you, sir?
I'm happy. Sure.
Not convincing.
Sorry. Let's see. Zoom is doing updates. That's always wonderful. Good.
Jay, we're going to use my letter pretty much as the agenda.
Okay.
It was embedded in an email and
Yep. I printed out a copy. Good.
Hi, everyone. Do you mind pausing for a quick moment? Jamie can't hear you all. We're going to see if she can connect her audio.
Okay.
Just don't want her to miss anything. Thank you.
So Jamie could also call in. A lot of people do that with the audio if they have trouble with the computer audio. There was a phone-in number as well.
Okay, I think Jamie's going to try to call in with her cell phone. Thank you for your patience.
No worries.
I hope everyone had a great new year.
I was alive for the party.
Hey, Ken, is Michelle going to join you?
Yeah, she's probably coming up the stairs now.
All right, because we need a quorum in the room.
I do understand. Thank you.
Otherwise, tap dance a minute and I can be to where you are in about 15 minutes.
Now, she called a minute ago and said she was a minute out. So,
Okay.
And Jay, I don't think you want to see me tap dancing.
I don't know. I've heard good things.
Hello.
Hey,
hi,
Howard.
Howard. So I was telling everybody, Howard, I'm going to use my letter pretty much as our agenda.
Okay, I had sent you some comments on that yesterday.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I was at a planning board meeting that went till 10 o'clock.
Okay. My basic problem with the letter is it doesn't, I think, adequately address the fact that the town board remains in charge of the Hamlet Sewer District.
Okay, that's what the purpose of this meeting is, to kind of fill in the blanks.
Yeah. So let me find the thing I sent you. And
We haven't opened this meeting yet, so here
Yeah.
comes Michelle.
Yep.
Jamie can also now hear, so we are ready.
Sorry
great.
about that, everyone.
No worries. Hello there.
Hello. Did you see the changes I had sent you? Or
I saw, they seem pretty minor, but,
minor?
oh yeah. So we're on, we're being recorded.
Good morning.
Morning.
What is today? January 4th. Oh, my nephew's birthday.
Flying by. His birthday?
My nephew and my cousin, apparently it's many people's birthday. 2023, wow. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Tuxedo Farms Hamlet Sewer LDC to order. Today is Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 10:03. Um, Today, we're going to be discussing plans for information dissemination to the customers of the Hamlet Sewer District, trying to plan an information session, a possible tour of the plant, and a letter to be disseminated to all the customers that kind of explains where we're at with the process. Howard, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about, how we're going to approach this, but
If I can interrupt a minute, do we need
please.
to be recording this?
We are recording. We hit that button a little early, but thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, my only comment is that in any communication to the Hamlet property owners and the sewer users of the Hamlet system, we need to keep in mind that we don't want to lose track or lose sight of the fact that the town board remains in control of what happens in the Hamlet Sewer District. And what's the only thing that has changed is how the town board is going to be delivering sewer service to the district. And for most purposes, nothing is really going to change for the property owner. So their obligations, their liabilities, their costs and expenses, the categories of those things will not change from what they have been historically. Historically, they've been responsible for their portion of what it costs to treat their flow and for the upkeep of their lines. Those facts remain constant, even though there's this new operator and operating arrangement for the new sewer plant. So in my comments on the draft letter, I tried to reflect some of that. And I've just recirculated that to everybody because I think those are important things to give the customers assurance that their lives are not being changed by this. And the town board whom they've elected is still responsible for providing them the services that they've come to expect.
And I'm sorry, I didn't see your email. Did you submit those comments in an email, Howard?
Well, my comments, no, I didn't submit the comments. I submit changes to the proposed letter to reflect those comments.
Oh, so it's on that Google document?
It's in an email that he sent back to you, Ken.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Michelle's going to open that up now. I'm sorry, I don't have a laptop in front of me. But I took notes on what you just said, Howard. Basically, the town board will remain in control of the Hamlet Sewer District. The only real change is how the service is delivered. I would imagine that you mean by that is through the new sewer plant. And nothing will change for the property owners. They're still responsible for their portion of treating the flow, the effluent, and the maintenance of the Hamlet collection system will always remain in the Hamlet Sewer District. So in essence, we do have two sewer districts, I guess is one way to describe it, or no?
Well, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do.
We in fact do. And
Right.
the two districts are being served by the one plant.
I think that's important, maybe something, an easy phrase of distinction that we have two sewer districts. And physically, it actually works
To
that way
share
in the
costs.
plant. There's two feeds into the plant, one from the town hamlet and one from Tuxedo Farms. There's literally two separate inflows, Jay. That's my understanding of how the plant works.
Yeah, I mean, there are two inflows and two meters, and then it all comes together into a single, once it gets in the door, everything gets mixed.
Right. But, you know, there's metered flow from the hamlet. You know, to that, I'm not suggesting we change any of this now or anytime in the near future, but the whole way the hamlet is built is through this unit system. And I don't know if I'm getting the, if I'm going off track here, this could be dealt with later, but you know, I did mention, I think in here, something about this unit charge. I have to even look back on what I wrote.
No, you didn't. But.
Okay,
but
maybe
you-
that's,
But that's,
maybe that would, excuse me one second, Howard, maybe we disseminate that information at this, this information session that I'm trying to plan. So let me just be clear about that strategy. I'm not expecting this letter to answer every nuance of what this is an invitation to those who want to come to an information session to learn more. This letter should just be the bare bones of, you know, we're going to this new plant. This is good news, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to learn more, you could either you could tour this plant if you like and come to this information session. Otherwise, just pay your bill and you'll be fine. But sorry to cut you off, Howard. Please go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that information session, if you're gonna be talking about how they're being billed, that's really a town board matter, not an LDC matter.
Oh, okay. Again, good distinction.
Yeah. And I wouldn't go real far at any meeting right now with the billing system. I think that it's archaic and needs to be modernized and rationalized, but that's several months of meetings and discussions on the town board side to figure out how to make that work. And it's going to need probably involvement with the village to get water records and all kinds of stuff. So.
Right. Well, certainly, so if you look at my letter, first of all, just tweaking the actual letter. So Howard's changes to bolded,
Yes.
okay,
And all caps.
all caps, okay. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to read it.
Howard, I'm looking at your changes. I'm gonna go check because I don't remember, but did we actually do a lease from the town to the LDC of the land?
Yes,
We did a ground
Yes.
lease? Okay,
yes,
just
Yep.
a ground lease.
It's like $1
Yes.
or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it
yeah,
is,
something
Howard?
like that. I don't remember exactly, but it's a nominal amount. Whether it's $1, $10, or, you know, something, it was nominal.
Right. So I'm
So
looking
it's
at
the
show.
capitals
Right.
and the bold.
So I could read that later, and I think I understand the changes that you wanted to have it there, Howard. So I guess one of the things we do need to work out here today, you know, speaking with Jamie about this yesterday, this whole notion of how we're paying the monthly bill, so to speak. I spoke with Greg Goucher and Dylan Norris from Related last night, and you know, it seems like this is the mechanism that still needs to be worked out. So maybe you guys have a notion about this already that you can explain to me and the LDC as to how we're paying the bill. It's going to come starting, you know, good news is they said the sewer plant will be activated within the next 2 weeks. So, well, it's happening. Jamie, did you want to say something?
I can start the conversation. The trustee is going to be holding money to pay for these expenses. The key is to get invoices in a proper requisition form from the sewer plant operator to MuniCap put together that requisition package to the LDC to approve the requisition package and then get it to the trustee. Now, there are going to be a lot of steps for all of those components, but I think that's a broad picture of what would need to happen. I don't know if anyone has anything to add right off the gate.
I do, just before the thought leaves my head. We certainly don't want to have a meeting to authorize an invoice every month. So there needs to be, in my mind, some kind of a stipulation that authorizes like me, or I would imagine it would be me, to sign off on these invoices without having a board meeting. And I'll leave that to Howard and Chris. Certainly can't have a board meeting every month to approve an invoice.
Well, I don't think we've done that in the past, right? We've approved invoices without a board meeting. I don't think you need board approval for the approval of every invoice.
That's fine. I'm just thinking, the invoices that I've been approving were really just for, consultant fees mostly, and they were not usually monthly, and I don't know if the dollar amount had any.
Well, I think what we can do, to give everybody more comfort, we can have the LDC board adopt a resolution delegating the authority to approve these invoices up to a certain amount without a board meeting, and give you that authority.
If you took the budgeted amount, divided it by 12, then you could say, okay, they could approve up to 1/12 of the 300,000 per month without the need for a board meeting, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking.
The only problem I see with that is the flow and therefore the charges isn't going to happily divide up into monthly installments.
Right.
It's going to be, if nothing else, February is going to be, 3 days less kind of thing. But if we get whatever, a heavy flow period, however you guys want to figure out that means, we're going to we may be over our monthly allotment in that particular month.
Yeah, I think you would approve, you would delegate the authority to Ken to approve up to 300,000, the budgeted amount in the calendar year, as opposed to 1/12.
Okay.
I think two things. I think let's take the names out of it. The head of the LDC is going to approve an invoice from the sewer operator and is then going to go to the town to get paid on that requisition, because these monies are being paid as taxes to the town, not as fees to the LDC, unless I'm mistaken.
Well,
You're right.
There's several funding sources, though. We have the escrow. We have, I think, about $50,000 that's in "quote unquote" MuniCap's report, and then there's the $300,000 that we put into our budget from the Hamlet Sewer District. So even that, which are we tapping into first? I tend to think it would be MuniCap and the escrow, but that's to be discussed.
So then maybe what we need to do is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
When MuniCap put together the assessment report, we assumed that a portion of the amount the town is billing to the Hamlet district is a special assessment. So the same way that the town collects the special assessments from Tuxedo Farms and turns around and sends that money to the trustee, the portion that we earmarked as a special assessment from the Hamlet district, in my mind, would get remitted to the trustee. That money would all sit in one pot and be used to pay out expenses.
See,
Okay.
I don't know if there's a problem. I'm sorry, I'll let you take.
Yeah.
The only idea I wanted, go ahead, Howard.
Well, I have a concern about that because that's tax money. It is special assessment, but it's still that's town money, not LDC.
It is not. It is not town money, Howard.
Well,
Town is contractually obligated to remit what it collects in special assessments for the sewer district to the LDC.
But
It is
isn't that,
contractually obligated to do that.
yeah, but isn't that just the special assessments for the Tuxedo Farms district
No, it's special assessments for both.
for both? So if we change the way that we bill, if the town changes the way it bills the hamlet, so it's no longer special assessments, but it's based on metered flow or some other mechanism, then we don't remit any of that.
Well, no, it's still a special assessment based on metered flow or not, right? It's still a user charge.
Yeah,
and it's
user,
still-
well, user charge isn't really a special assessment, is it?
I guess I'm not seeing the distinction. I mean, the sewer, let's take sewer farm, Tuxedo Farms or the Hamlet district, it doesn't matter which district. In general, my understanding is a district is formed, which the town has done. And then the district pays for the capital, which we know the Hamlet district is not paying for, and then the O&M. And the
Right.
O&M is based on metered flow. So that's still a special, that O&M is still a special assessment. And the town is contractually obligated. I mean, if we start mucking around with this, we run the risk of screwing up the bonds, because that's the security. The whole security for the bond structure was that the town is contractually obligated to remit what it collects in special assessments to the trustee to pay both the capital and the O&M. And if that structure goes, which by the way is guaranteed by the county, so if the town, if any of the taxpayers are delinquent in their taxes, the town is made whole by the county, and the town then remits its full amount to the trustee. I'm concerned if we start doing something with that structure and not remitting all the money to the trustee, we're going to have a bondholder issue.
But if we don't, say the annual O&M for the hamlet is 150,000. The hamlet district's books will show that it has 150,000 of reserves, of cash reserves.
Meaning, because it collected 300?
Yeah, because they collected 300, they only spent 150. So on the books of the hamlet, they have it, they still have 150 at the end of the year.
Right, and the special assessment report that Jamie and Stephanie prepare will reflect that in the next fiscal year, because it'll say we have 150,000 extra money, dollars, and the budget is 300 next year. So now we only need to levy for 150,000.
What if,
So
we wanted to
Fair.
apply 150,000 to improving the infrastructure?
Yeah,
Collection system.
right.
See, that was my,
My
that-
screen. I'll show you how we did it, and I think that might address some of the questions that are being raised right now.
Okay,
Actually disabled. Okay, well, I'll try to talk you through it. So Ken gave us the total amount the town is billing. It's the 310,000. We took that amount and said, okay, the portion that can be a special assessment is 55,000. That amount gets remitted to the trustee. The town remains 255,000 to pay for capital expenses, or if they want to roll that forward to offset special assessments in future years, they can. So of the total amount that the town is going to bill this year, only a portion is the special assessment. That amount does need to be remitted to the trustee, but the remainder we assumed would be retained by the town.
okay.
Is that-
Yeah, and just refresh our recollection as to how the 50 was determined.
The sewer services agreement sets a specific amount, a percentage that can be paid by the hamlet in the first year. That percentage equals out to 55,000 of the total
Okay.
expenses.
Okay. Okay,
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I forgot about, yeah, so that, you're right. So the balance is really what the town, what Ken, you wanted to have in your coffers
Yeah,
unexpected.
I mean, we know the collection system is 100 years old, like the replacement of the sewer plant is. And so, yeah, I want to make sure that the money we're collecting doesn't end up in a coffer that's for the whole Tuxedo Farms LDC, because the hamlet users, I think, as Jamie is saying, just need to pay their fair share of eventually of the inflow, and that there's been money allocated for this transition that we want to use up first.
So
And hopefully in 2 years, we'll have users from Tuxedo Farms and we'll start to figure out what the real percentage would be.
So it seems to me, from a functional standpoint, there's a certain amount of money that the special assessment that the town is obligated to transfer to the LDC. And then we know that's not going to cover all of the sewer fees for the year. Plant fees, not infrastructure questions.
Expenses, you mean?
Sorry, expenses. Yeah, but expenses to run the plant as opposed to expenses to improve the pipes.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the town should be cutting a check, now at the beginning of the year to the LDC in the same way that we pass through the fire department's money and the library's money. So that the LDC can approve and pay invoices from the sewer operator. And then in whatever quarterly, they can come back to the town board and say, okay, we're getting to the end of the current funds. We need you to send us more money.
Well, that's not how the document works. The way
Okay.
we structured it was, we tried to draft it in the same way that you guys collect the taxes. And so you'll remit over to the LDC. It's the full amount. It's not quarterly. It's what you collect. I think the dates are February and April, but I have to go back and confirm that. And maybe Jamie, you know that off the top of your head, but
The town remits the money in February.
right,
Yeah.
because that's what your collection date is, Jay. The town
Okay.
collects taxes for itself, its general levy and its special assessments, and you're also collecting the taxes for the county. And then once you're made whole, you remit everything over to the county, over and above that, and whatever is delinquent, the county then charges 5% for the first month and 1% a month thereafter. And then after several years, it has the right to foreclose. But in no event is the town ever left in a deficit position.
So what's that amount that we're sending over to the LDC in February?
In this year, it sounds like it's 55,000.
Okay, so we send the 55,000, good. Now my question
Okay.
is, when the LDC starts paying the sewer bills and it's more than 55,000 plus there's another 250,000 that we collected in taxes that the town is holding in the sewer fund. Some of that's going to be used for infrastructure. Some of that's going to be used to pay the LDC. So we
Maybe.
can either wait for the bills to come, or we can prepay some of that additional monies in addition to the 55 that we have to send the LDC.
Well, but Jamie, can you explain you only had 55 in special assessments. You must have other 310 somewhere else.
Yes, so there were certain reserves established when the bonds were first issued to cover the first few years of operation. A big part of that is actually money that Howard is currently holding in escrow. When the sewer plant is turned on, that money gets remitted to the LDC, and it's used to make up that difference.
Right, so Howard, your escrow gets remitted in addition to the 55,000. And that should cover us forward 2023.
Yes.
And Jamie, isn't there also around $50,000 that I think was earmarked specifically for that transition or initial?
There is a balance that I think makes up the reserve. That's what you're referencing. So in addition to what Howard's remitting, there's already 50,000 sitting in the accounts as a reserve funded from bond proceeds.
By the way, Jamie, if you send me the wiring instructions for sending those funds over, I could send them over right away.
Okay, I think we were originally going to hold off until the plant was operational. Are you okay waiving that now?
Well, it sounds like it's going to be operational within the next two weeks, so I think we're close enough.
Okay, we can reach out to the trustee with UCC to get all that information squared away and let her know that money is coming.
Okay.
So I had on my notes, Howard, that was, I wrote this in September of 2022, $352,596. Give or take a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, Howard, go to your escrow account, Howard. Go to your trust account.
And I kind of remember around 50,000 from what this, what is currently on the books for Municap. And so that money is actually held by
M&T.
Wilmington Trust?
Wilmington Trust? M&T?
Yeah, M&T, Wilmington Trust, same thing.
Okay. All right, so
I have a question. While you're
go ahead,
going
please,
there.
go ahead.
So I hear discussions of maybe changing the way we're going to charge sewer fees to based on water flow, which would then be quarterly. Does that change the bond agreement that says we need to pay up front? I mean, do we want, and my question is right now, what would be the administrative structure we would have to put into place to send quarterly bills and go after people that don't pay them? Right now, it's attached to the property tax, and if they don't pay, as Chris says, it goes to the county and we're made whole. But
Well,
if we go to a quarterly system,
That's a town board issue. First of all, it's not an LDC issue,
Exactly.
but just so you know,
no, I'm just
the way-
curious how
yeah,
it works.
just so you know, the way you would have to have a billing system set up, and you would have to send out the bills, and we would provide, when we made that change, that unpaid bills at the end of the year get re-levied onto the following year's tax bill.
Okay. All right.
Well, I just want to be clear that
That's
that's not
happening.
happening anytime soon. We're still collecting. We already collected. Well, we will by February 1st, the $310,000.
Right.
That's
Yeah, so
coming.
that
And
would be a future
if
year
we're
thing.
only going to spend $55,000 of that, then the balance will end up in fund balance of the Hamlet Sewer District. And, I hope to be working with our town engineer and town board to ASAP do an assessment of the collection system and, really come up with a plan to upgrade that system, and how much does it cost and how long will it take, and start triaging that right away. But from a billing point, even when I spoke with Greg Goucher and Dylan Norris last night, to Jay's point about monthly billing, they weren't expecting, they said the monthly billing wouldn't be actual amounts. It's going to be more of the divide by 12, and towards the end of the year, there'll be some kind of reconciliation. But I also told them, of course, we need year to date to make sure that at the end of the year, you don't come back and say, oh, wow, we owe you $100,000, So there's still some clarification that needs to happen there. But
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that. you know, to make a requisition to the trustee, he's gonna have to submit invoices.
Right.
So it can't be 1/12. of
Yeah,
what
it's
he
gotta be
expects.
yeah, they have to be detailed expense reports that show exactly what the expense is for. If it's for electric, if it's for chemicals, you know, it needs to be detailed.
I think then we certainly need some kind of a letter of instruction or whatever between the LDC, I guess, and maybe it's the LDC and the town board with the the sewer corp, because they need some schooling on this. They really don't have
Well,
this together.
That's in place, Ken.
Okay.
The sewer services agreement has a requisition process spelled out in it, pretty detailed process.
Yeah.
Maybe their council can take a look at that, and I'm happy to give their council a call and remind them of how it's going to work. But it seems to me that Greg came in after the fact and does not have the benefit that we all have of the intimate knowledge of these documents for the last 7 years.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if that's Brad for the sewer corp, Howard.
No, well, it could be Al Natoli.
Yeah, I think it's Al Natoli.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, okay, thank you for reminding me.
yeah. And Al knows how to do knows how to do bills for these things. It won't be a surprise for him.
Okay, well, I'm sure there's a stipulation in there of, I think it was a 30-day turnaround, if I remember right, to pay the invoices. And so somehow I would imagine the first invoices are going to, I don't know if does the agreement say at the first of the month? I mean, the first month is going to be partial. I don't think we're on the hook till the sewer system is actually turned on.
Mhm.
But then,
Right.
do we have till March 1st to pay the bill? I'm not clear about that.
Well, we don't have a bill yet, so
Yeah.
we don't know when they're going to send the first bill.
I would imagine that kind of stuff is in this agreement, that they would submit monthly bills first of the month and blah, blah, blah. But
I don't know if it's detailed like that, Ken, but I think it's limited to once, no more than monthly.
so could we, I guess, I'm sure I've been given this sewer agreement, but especially this part about the billing and stuff like that. Could we tease that out and make sure that
Yep.
all parties understand what that is and get Al to help educate whoever on his end? I'm thinking it's still Greg Goucher and Dylan Norris, but I know operationally we have this H2O, used to be called JCO. They're the physical operators of the plant, but they're not the board of the sewer operator, which I think is just Greg Goucher and Dylan Norris. I mean, I guess their names must be officially on some document that says that they're the directors of this sewer corp, no?
Well, I don't know that their name, because when the sewer corp was set up, obviously it predated them.
I see.
So it's probably just the related company that's named in some fashion, one of their names, but we'd have to check.
And would that change now with this, they recently submitted that name change for the ownership of the property, Howard, is?
Not necessarily,
Okay,
not necessarily.
so all those details, Howard and Chris, if you could lay it out as to, before we end
Yep.
this meeting, who's doing what, so to speak, with that kind of crap?
Well, I just opened up the agreement. It is limited to monthly. And the LDC is only on the hook for what's in the expense account. and the SW Corp is required to pay anything over and above if the fees exceed what's in the O&M service fees. So, we have no risk. It's the risk is on them. If there's like, as you said, Ken, earlier, if there's an overage at the end of the year, that's on them to pay, not for us. We just recollect that as part of the special assessment calculation for the following year.
What would there be overages on? Like, I mean,
No idea.
additional?
O&M is more expensive than we estimated. Instead of 310, it's 345. I don't, that's that in that case, that $35,000 is initially expended by the SW Corp, and then we recoup it and pay them obviously in the next year. I mean, the whole
Oh, in
idea
the
is
next
that,
year.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. So the sewer district is responsible for that overage. It's just that we wouldn't have to pay it until the next year?
Right. The
Okay.
whole idea is that we can, that the plant maintains operational, and there's not if there's a shortage of money, it's not on because we can't collect taxes more than once a year. So there's no way to pay for the expenses if we don't have the money in the account. So that's why it's on them. It's not on them as if you made a mistake, you estimated poorly. It's on them to cover the gap.
They
So-
wouldn't, I'm sorry, they would, just one more.
No,
They
please.
wouldn't ask for it to come out of the 352 escrow?
Well, they could, and that's our decision. We decide. That's not their decision.
Okay, thanks.
So, I mean, in the initial startup, some of the quote-unquote hidden expenses other than operation and what could be debated as to what is maintenance, we tried to anticipate this because the plant's been sitting idle for 5-6 years. And they turn on some of these pumps and whatever, and one of them fails because it should have been covered under warranty, so to speak. Those are some of the hidden costs that I am a little concerned about. And how we would haggle back and forth as to, well, was that maintenance or was that just, should have been covered under quote unquote a warranty that might have elapsed because the plant wasn't running for 6 years.
Didn't we address that with the letter we just adopted?
I think
I
we
thought
did.
so.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it still could be argued, I'm sure. Well, that was just, don't blame that on a warranty.
We'll burn
But-
that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
Well, in a sense, we're expecting them to deliver us a sewer plant ready to go.
Yeah, and
if
that's
it's
in there.
not-
That's definitely baked in there, that verbiage. They're supposed to do. And, we also gave them some leeway as far as the demolition of the plant's not going to happen by January, all the final grading, the fence around the plant, those kind of things, the final steps into the plant, but the agreement still says that's on them.
Right.
We gave them, I don't know, I think it might have been a year. I can't remember exactly if we put an exact time frame on when they needed to complete that stuff.
My recollection is some of it was deferred until they may need to expand, right?
Right.
Yeah, the thing that I'd be a stickler about would just be the safety issues. I mean, right now, just to get into the building, literally to walk into the building is some crudely assembled wooden steps, and the grading is not proper.
Well, does it have a CO?
That's a good question.
Has to comply with the building construction code, so it's gotta be safe to get in and out of.
Okay. So I guess I need to get Dave Makish on that
Yeah,
case.
he walked out the door at the beginning of the meeting because he's doing his thing. That needs to be addressed. I mean, basically, what we agreed to was that we needed a functional and operational plant. Some things like grading and landscaping and whatnot, we're not going to stomp our feet about. It doesn't make sense to make them put in a bunch of bushes that they're going to tear out when they do the expansion.
Right.
Yeah, so to that point, Jay, you know, the CO, obviously, mostly we'd be concerned about safe environment for workers, and that also certainly until the old plant is decommissioned and dug out, whatever. And I think they do plan on doing that in the spring, at least digging
Yep.
out the old crap. And but it's still a safety hazard, and the fence that we have there right now really doesn't cut it. Plus, we want to make sure there's a clear boundary line with any of our neighbors, and Howard probably knows who I'm referring to.
I do,
Want to make sure that that's straightened out.
yes.
Just so we're all on the same page, the O&M for the sewer includes the actual operation of the plant, the Hamlet collection system, and the Farms District collection systems. And where everybody agrees with that, right?
Yes, that's O&M.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah, the Hamlet collection system is to pay for that is the obligation of the Hamlet district.
Yeah.
And
that I don't disagree with.
and the farms collection system is the obligation of the farms district to pay for
Yeah.
that.
But both are funneled through the LDC.
Correct.
Yes, okay. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, right, that makes sense.
When, not to throw a wrench in this, but when we did the assessment report for this year, we said that the capital costs of the Hamlet district would be paid by the town. I think that could be revisited if it needed to be, but that was how we set it up this year,
Yeah,
to
that-
provide town to retain the money that wasn't the special assessment piece.
Yeah, that's accurate. The Hamlet district is responsible for its capital improvements. Yeah,
Okay.
but if there's a break in the main and it's going to be repaired, not replaced, that's maintenance.
Correct. But the O&M budget that's put forward by the SW Corp each year by September 1st of each year to the LDC, it's supposed to include capital replacements and extraordinary expenses. So theoretically, going forward, I think what Jamie is saying is we did it this year as to keep it with the town, but in the future, if you wanted those capital expenditures to be done by the SW Corp, they could do it and you can funnel the money through. Not funnel in a bad way. It's, the money
Yeah.
passes through and it's paid that way and done that way.
Yeah. But certain improvements to the Hamlet collection system, the town wanted to retain
Yep.
control over that.
And that's their decision. It's not the LDC's decision at all.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, to that point, Howard, there was just this notion in the sewer agreement about emergency repairs to the collection system. And I think we put in verbiage that they had to contact me, or really principally Rob Dolbaum, that, before they do anything drastic other than just, absolute emergency stuff, that
Yes.
they have to call us.
Yes.
So, all this is brilliant, and I just want to make sure that it gets to the right ears. I have Al Natoli, obviously a key player. I'm still not 100% sure I could explain how the first payment's going to be Obviously, we have to wait for an invoice. There's nothing to pay until we get one. And I think there needs to be communication with Greg Goucher and Dylan Norris and Al Natoli, just to make sure everybody understands how that process starts, when we should expect the first invoice. And
Chris,
sounds like there's going to be an escrow transfer.
Yeah.
And what
yeah,
else am I missing?
well, I was gonna suggest, Chris, are you able to pull out a copy of that sewer service agreement and
Yeah.
and send it to Al and,
Yep, I've got it up right now, and I'm happy to send it to Al and.
Yep.
And let him know that, since we're about to start operations, I'm gonna remind him that this agreement governs how
yes,
payment is made. And, we intend that we expect they're gonna follow this.
right.
And that requires, like we said, a very detailed requisition.
Mhm.
But Ken, when you said something earlier, I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't think we addressed it in the sewer funding agreement. That's the agreement between the LDC and the town. Maybe we did, and I just don't recall. But how are we going to get the $55,000 over into? I mean, not that it's urgent because we have other money available, but we need to figure out a mechanism to get the $55,000 that the town collected in special assessments from the Hamlet district into the trustees' hands.
Wouldn't it be the same process that the town remits the farm district special assessments by? That's been in place for a couple of years.
Okay, how have we done that, Jamie?
It's really just a wire transfer to the trustee, noting
Okay.
once we're sending sets of money, we'll give them two different accounts, tell them where to deposit the money for debt service and where to deposit the money for O&M.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. That's helpful.
And so that actual invoice, who generates that? So the town obviously needs an invoice to pay.
Hey, Jamie?
Paid to the trustee.
To send over the special assessment money. You do that now, right?
An invoice. I think that the town and LDC rely on the assessment report that says, here's how much money goes to the trustee.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So the assessment report, I'm sorry, I'm a little dense on this. Who's generating that?
We need to capture that annually.
Went over with you guys in, I think, November.
Okay, so I'm just really literally thinking about a piece of paper that's going to end up on the bookkeeper's desk, that she's going to generate a check and an invoice and.
The LDC should send a bill to the town and, it could be an email, but that says, okay, it's time to pay the assessment. Send us a check for $6 to this account and 55 or whatever, 49,000 to this one.
Yeah, I think, Jamie, you'll do that. You just attach the special assessment report that was adopted and say, here's in accordance with the report, here's where you send the money.
Yes, that's the simplest.
Yeah, we can do a reminder email that outlines all of that. We'll CC the trustees so they know it's happening with all that information.
And when will you be doing that?
I believe we'll do that around February 10th for a February 15th transfer.
Right.
We can do it earlier if needed, but I think that's usually when we send the reminder.
Okay.
Jamie, I can't
That sounds
remember.
like what I was thinking about, just making sure we have a document that the bookkeeper doesn't go, what, who are we paying?
Well, we already pay what Tuxedo, what Related pays us. We collect the special assessment, right?
Yes.
Right,
You
that's
took-
the debt service. Yep.
That's the debt
Yep.
service. We're talking about
Oh,
the 55,000 that
Just-
has been determined,
Yeah. Right.
the portion of the special assessment,
So there are special assessments for two things. One is
Yes.
for bond service and one is for, debt service, one's for O&M.
that's.
Yeah, I think there's more than that too, Michelle, but I think we had 5 types but the big ones are O&M and debt service.
Okay.
Right, so, yeah, keep it simple. Send the town a bill.
Yep.
Or a reminder, or whatever you want to call it, so that we know how much to send and to where, and we'll write a set of checks and we'll take them over to your house and we'll thumbtack them to the door.
We can
Well,
do
the
that.
thought, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying we can send a reminder. I mean, if you want to deliver the check to me, that's fine, but I'd rather you send it to.
In the reminder, tell us where you want us to send the money.
Okay.
And if you're wearing a straw hat and drinking a drink with an umbrella in it, we'll know something's up.
It's not that much money.
55,000's a nice little vacation.
Vacation, yeah.
Yes, but you have to take it for the rest of your life. It's not enough.
Joking aside, this letter that I wanted to send, Julie, I've seen in, I guess it's the annual report, a listing of all people in the Hamlet Sewer District and their addresses. That's where I've been getting this number of about 260 people. And so I wanted to work out with you, Julie, how do we send out this letter? You know, do you guys have a service that could take this list and make it into a mailing and get this letter out to all of these customers, so to speak? I mean, I'm not sure how this is going to work.
I think the list of customers is actually in Jamie's report that she does in the fall.
Right.
Chris, is that something that we could handle internally?
Yeah, we could do that.
I guess we need to be certain that, you know, we have the accurate information as far as if any of the properties have changed hands since the time that report was issued in the fall to the day that we're going to send.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue you raise a good point. I think the town is the one that has the up-to-date records on the property owners. If you submit that to us, we can have our data processing folks process the letter and get it out.
Yeah, I'm just back to whose letterhead does the letter go out on? Is it the LDC or the town of Tuxedo?
I think it's the town, quite frankly.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, that's good.
And then we could go through the letter again and make sure we make it clear what's town, what's Hamlet District, what's LDC.
I'm changing hats as you're talking to me, yeah. Holy smokes. It's like Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants. I got all the hats. No worries.
Yeah, because on the letter, we're signing it off as the LDC board members.
Well, we could obviously change that to Town of Tuxedo.
Yeah,
Right.
like, go through
Town
what we
board.
need to change, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So the up-to-date list, I guess that would actually come from the, our assessor. And, okay, I think I got that. So, I'll speak with, Jim Davies, Julie, and see if he just has an exportable Excel
Yes.
spreadsheet or something that
Yeah, that would be helpful.
lists these properties and I believe also, Jamie, I don't know if you know this, but I seem to recall that each of those also lists how many units is associated with each property.
It does, but that information came from you guys. I think either from your billing clerk or from the assessor.
It's
Okay.
Jim, yeah.
Okay. So let me see what else is on my list here. So,
I have a
Bill,
somewhat
don't
related
forget-
Question.
Ken, don't forget to remind Dave Makish to go out and take a look for certificate
CO.
of occupancy. Yeah, CO purpose.
yeah, have that highlighted in yellow here. Michelle, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Chris brought up a question about the cost or the bond funds used for the plant and the bond funds used for the infrastructure on the project of Tuxedo Farms itself. And, you know, we've always gone with the sort of roundabout numbers that 10 million went to the plant itself and 20 million went towards the sewer pipes and everything, the pump stations. We've just been using that number for a long time. Is that somewhat accurate? I guess it would be looking at the construction fund and where the monies went. I don't think it's relevant to this, but, you know, since Chris brought it up,
Yeah, I don't,
I've always kind of used those numbers, but because I've been told that that's what it was, but I'm just curious how we know that.
I don't think we have records of how much was for the plant versus how much was for the pipes and everything else. I mean, we could ask Related for that information. We do know that everything that was spent out of bond proceeds was in fact for this wastewater treatment plant and the piping and all that stuff. But I don't know that we have kept, we've asked the trustee to keep detailed reports on how much is for X and how much is for Y.
Well,
Is it
to that
significant?
point, I would think when they submitted the invoices, I mean, you could look at the balance of what's left and you know, there's a finite number of what's left in there, and mostly it's, go ahead, Jamie, I think you want to answer that question.
Unicap maintains copies of their requisitions for the construction fund. I'm not sure if they go into the level of detail that we're looking for, but I can have my accounting team take a look at them and confirm. And if not, I think it would need to come from Related. Wilmington or M&T only has what we give them in the requisition. So if we can't confirm it, they also would not be able to. I actually do have to hop off, though. I have another call. I'm very sorry about that.
No, thank you for accommodating this as you have.
I'm gonna have to jump off soon too, but
Yeah.
does it really matter?
I'm not
No.
sure it matters, but since Chris brought it up and we've just been using these figures, I just thought, you know, at some point it might be helpful or just
What
for
it matters to
information.
me is, you know, what's the balance left and, you know, obviously as they start to build out Tuxedo Farms, hey, if it ain't in the ground yet, you got to pay for it and put it in, you know,
Right.
so there's no more money in Municap or M&T or anywhere else that they could draw upon. But also the other side of that is whatever's left to complete the plant, as Chris has reminded me many times, there is verbiage in the agreement that says, hey, it's on you to finish the plant, whether there's money there or not. So even though we've,
And as if and when it needs to be expanded, that's on
Yes.
them also. So,
that's on them, and any of the things like the landscaping or whatever that we've quote unquote deferred, we didn't say you don't have to do it. We just said it doesn't need to be done right away.
Correct.
And certainly anything about the safety and to make sure that the plant gets a CO has to be done with whatever's left in the construction fund. And again, if they go over that, well, it's on them.
correct.
That's correct. Just to be clear, though, we do have an additional indebtedness service fee. So we did contemplate if there were additional bonds to be issued by the LDC to cover some expansion costs. That was on them. They'll ultimately pay them, but it was going to be through the LDC would accommodate again and issue tax exempt bonds and essentially front the money for them to do that.
Sounds like a future board task. I'll put that in the memo.
Okay.
I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So Howard, maybe we could just kind of sum this up in an email, or are there any action items before we close? We could just make sure we have.
I have an
I'm go-
action item. My action item is to reach out to Alan Natoli and make sure that he understands the requisition process.
My action item, I'm going to contact Dave Makish and discuss the CO for the plant. I'll reach out to Jim Davies about the up-to-date list of town of Tuxedo users in the hamlet and convey that to Julie. I'm not sure if I have.
Unicap, Stephanie, you guys are going to make sure you did the payment reminder to the town by February 10th.
Yep, correct.
And Municap is going to send me the wiring instructions for sending the funds in my escrow to the trustee.
Yes.
I'm sorry, wasn't there still a question of, I know we keep using this 55,000 number, that I understand. But Stephanie, there's still this balance of operation money in Municap. It's around $50,000, so I don't want those two numbers being confused of what I'm talking about. And so the 55 is actually from the 310 that the town collected. That's from our,
Yes.
Yep, that's correct. And
right.
then, yep, go
And
ahead.
then this 50 odd, is that the first draw that would be used to pay anything above and beyond that?
Yes, so the 50,000
You don't have to tell me.
is what was originally deposited into the, excuse me, into the sewer operations account. That money is sitting with the trustee. That money, along with the funds that are in escrow, is what will be used to make up the difference of that 310,000, which is
Right.
roughly 254,000. Yes, the numbers are similar. You're correct.
Right,
But
so I'm
that's-
just thinking, why don't we spend out that just to get that off the books so that now you're just drawing from the escrow, or if it all goes into the same pot, I guess it really doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah,
Well, I also think, Ken, that you do want to have some kind of cushion. That's why it's there. The 50,000 was there
Right.
to cover unanticipated. I don't think it's good practice to draw down to zero
Right.
our accounts.
Okay, that's fine, sounds prudent. So have we covered all the action items? And
Yes.
Julie, I don't know if you've captured most of this. Maybe I just want to, maybe between you and me, just come up with a summary email, and then everybody could just write back and make sure that we've articulated collectively what these action items are, and just send a follow-up email. Okay, this is what we all agreed to, and
Sure, we can do that.
okay. Anything else, guys?
Did you want to set a date for the meeting? To change it from February 28th?
So Michelle is asking, I wanted to do this informational meeting. I, as a target, put Tuesday, February 28th, but Michelle, I think you had another suggested date?
Either March 1st or March 2nd?
Any objections to that?
Hang on, I'm looking at my calendar.
I will not be available, but if we
No, you're at
record,
the EDC conference, right?
right, if we record the meeting though, if it's recorded, I can certainly do, minutes off of that.
That's certainly not a set date. Is there a preferred date for you, Julie? It doesn't matter to me.
I'm just at a conference on March 1st and 2nd.
So pick another day.
How about
No
the
worries.
third?
It's
Do
a
the
Friday, isn't it?
The 3rd is a Friday, which is never a good time for a meeting.
They're awful times for the meetings.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the following week or is that too late?
Sure.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay, so if people are keeping track, Tuesday the 7th is Purim, so if we're worried about conflicting with holidays, do it later in the week, do it Wednesday or Thursday.
The 8th or
The
9th?
8th is
The 8th.
International Women's Day. I think that's a great day to have it.
You know this is being recorded, right, Ken?
I'm serious.
Yay.
All right,
I'm ready to relinquish all authority.
what time on the 8th would you propose?
That's a good question.
What do we suggest, 6:30? We had 6:30.
We tried to do it in the evening to try to get users available. This is really about them, not just about us. I know it's not a great time. I would think this informational meeting couldn't be more than an hour. It's not for us to discuss, it's really a presentation, and it might not even require all of us to be there, but can we say 6:30?
Sure, it's fine with me.
Sure.
Yep.
So I'll call it 6:30. I'm gonna call it Tuxedo Farms LDC, and obviously, maybe it's a town board meeting, Howard?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Mhm,
because.
on a Wednesday?
Because remember, you want the face of you want the face of the town board there between the users and the LDC, because the LDC is a strange entity for people. The town board they know and love. So
And-
don't interject the uncertainty of some new board that's going to just confuse people,
Right.
worry them.
And we're on the board and we get confused as to which hat we're wearing. There is no way that the public is going to see anything other than the town board.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it'll be the town board with some members acting as their alternate capacity as trustees of the LDC.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll retweak this letter. I'll recirculate it just to make sure captured all the ideas, and I think we got it all. Try to keep it simple, not put too much detail. That'll be disseminated on March 8th, and we'll have more information as you reach out with Al Natoli and these people. So.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna want to send that out before March 8th, because that's.
Oh,
includes the invite.
definitely.
Yeah. that
Yeah,
includes
now
the
people are
invite.
gonna get their tax bill and be wondering why it went up and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. Just
Right.
want to give them assurance that the sewer plant's now operational, you're in good hands, come March 8th, you can learn more about it. And I'll work with Greg Goucher to figure out this tour. Probably make more sense after the 8th anyway, when the weather's better and things are really operational. So, I think we're ready to close.
I
Any
have,
Okay.
other-
I have one question before we close, please.
Please.
Well, everyone's on the call here now. We're gonna need to schedule an annual meeting of the LDC so that we can approve the items that are required for the Paris report, that being the audit and mission statement, measurement report, and all of those things. The Paris report's due at the end of March. So if we could schedule a meeting, perhaps maybe March 15th, I'm wondering, that's a Wednesday. And I can work with Andrew Arias and make sure that the audit is completed by that time as well. Would the 15th of March work for everyone?
Michelle's looking at her calendars. So far, I should be fine.
I think so. So let's put it in and then we can,
Can we do, are the next weeks too late?
March 22nd, what do I have? Something on that date? The 22nd would work. That works for me.
Is that okay with you guys?
Everyone else?
Works for me.
Works for me.
What time, Michelle?
Anytime,
How's 10 o'clock work?
Yeah.
yeah.
yep.
So
Sounds
So
3:22.
Tuxedo Farms LDC, 10 o'clock.
Yep, we'll make that your annual meeting and we'll do all your Paris. I'll send in a calendar reminder just so that you all have it, and then obviously
you.
more information to follow.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this Tuxedo Farms LDC meeting at 11:14. Do I have a second?
You do, second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Julie, you and I could touch base and just get that action item list. And
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
thank you. Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
So I just think at the letter, it,
1 second.
okay, sure.
I think we're ended.